Okay, following on from, get me dust off me, the video about bloods, I'm going to talk about lipids, cholesterol. Now, if you're as old as me, which is old, you grew up through the era of being hammered about the importance of cholesterol. So much so that you probably switched off to it. So I'm going to give a rough explanation of how it works, very, very simple terms, how it affects you and how you can manage it. So when you look at a cholesterol panel, you'll see cholesterol, you'll see LDL, you'll see HDL, you'll see triglycerides, and then you'll see usually HDL ratio and cholesterol non-cholesterol ratios. So cholesterol is total cholesterol, quite self-explanatory. HDL is high density lipoproteins, more commonly referred to as good cholesterol. And LDL is low density lipoproteins, more commonly referred to as bad cholesterol. These aren't particularly correct, but they're how we look at them. Some LDL is quite good. LDL has a role to play. Triglycerides are your circulating fat levels in the bloodstream, and HDL ratio is a comparative of HDL and LDL. That one is important. So, why do we have cholesterol? We use it to make hormones. We use it to make enzymes. We use it to help with cell construction. It's used for all sorts of things. Low cholesterol can actually affect your mental health. Now, the vast majority of cholesterol we use is produced by the liver. HDL takes cholesterol from the bloodstream and puts it in the liver. LDL takes cholesterol from the liver and puts it in the bloodstream. Our diets have a huge impact on these two transports. So high saturated fat and to a degree dairy and meat will increase LDL. Fish oils, eggs will increase HDL. Anabolics lower HDL across the board. DHTs, particularly Primo and Masteron, are even more harsh on HDL than regular anabolics, and part of this is to do with their anti-estrogen properties, but they will be particularly effective at lowering HDL. Anavar will increase LDL. So anabolics have an effect on these two factors and makes management of them a little bit more challenging when on cycle. So, if we have too much HDL and not enough LDL, we can have low levels of circulating cholesterol. Not very common, but it can occur. More likely is that we'll have too high a level of LDL or too lower level of HDL. This will cause the HDL ratio to increase and increase our cardiovascular risk. And the reason it increases our risk is because now we have too much cholesterol circulating in the bloodstream. Because there isn't enough HDL to remove that cholesterol and put it in the liver to be processed, that cholesterol can form plaque. Now that plaque builds up on the artery wall, and slowly but surely the artery wall narrows. This isn't a day, week or month process, this is a year's process. So it does take quite a long time. The result of that is a narrowing of the artery. This will cause an increase in blood pressure, same amount of volume of blood, now going through a narrower pipe. Increases the risk of blood clots and blockages, and also the plaque can break off and block. If that occurs in our circulatory system in the rest of the body, it is a blood clot, it's a blockage. If it occurs in the pipes or the arteries that feed the blood to the heart, now we've got to be a little bit careful here. So the heart pumps blood around the body, pumps it through the lungs and pumps it around the body. But the heart is also supplied with blood in order to feed the heart so the heart can function. The heart needs oxygen and it needs nutrient from hemoglobin. So there is a blood supply that supplies the body. Some of that blood is diverted to supply the heart so the heart can function. If we get a blockage in the supply of blood to the heart so the heart can function, that's known as a myocardial infarction or a heart attack. That restricts or stops the blood flow to the heart. The heart is then starved of oxygen and nutrients, and as a result the heart gets damaged. And then you have an issue where the heart is damaged moving forward. If a heart attack is significant or sustained for too long a period, the heart is damaged to a point where it can't function and we die. So plaque management is important. There isn't a blood test that will show you what your plaque level is, but looking at lipids will give you an idea of your risk of forming plaque. If you want to know what your arterial network is like for plaque, you will need to have an angiogram. And that's where a dye is put into the bloodstream and then it's tracked on an X-ray, and they literally look at the arterial network and see where it is narrowed and where it is not. You may have heard of people having stents. This is where the arteries are widened artificially in order to remove plaque and keep them open to reduce the risk of heart attack. Now, besides diet, you can supplement to improve these levels, and to be honest, if you're using anabolics, you're probably going to struggle to manage HDL levels through just supplementation. So if you have high LDL, your best defense against lowering that is to adjust your diet, and that really is going to take effort in the kitchen to bring that down. Cardio will help to an extent as well, but primarily it's going to be your diet that needs to change. If you have low HDL, you can improve your diet, more HDL rich sources of food, but you're going to do much better if it's driven by anabolics by supplementing. Citrus bergamot will help increase HDL, and you can go as high as a couple of grams with that. Krill oil. Now, a lot of people go to fish oils. Now, fish oils are triglyceride based. They're not absorbed by the body very well. Krill oil is phospholipid based. That is absorbed by the body incredibly well. So krill oil is much more effective at actually getting into your bloodstream and do what you want it to do than fish oil is. Fish oil also tends to go off quite a lot. So a lot of fish oils that people take is actually off. You're much better with krill oil, absorbed, much better quality, therefore you're getting a better effect. If HDL is significantly low, and I would say below 0.5, then you're probably looking at choline therapy, which would be 1 gram of liposomal vitamin C, and I say liposomal because it's much better absorbed, and 5 grams of lysine twice a day. You could also look at niacin for lipid support as well, but you will have to test your tolerance with niacin. Some people can have a very severe reaction to it. That will all help improve your HDL profile and help take you out of the risk area for developing a buildup of plaque in later life. So when you look at your lipids, you obviously want to look at your total cholesterol, your HDL and your LDL. Triglycerides are not particularly significant if you've not fasted, unless they are incredibly high, i.e. 7 or above. But if you are fasted and they're up, then yes, that's definitely concerning. And you want to look at your HDL ratio, because that gives you an indication of whether you are managing your cholesterol balance in your bloodstream with your LDL and HDL levels. If HDL ratio is high, you have two options: increasing HDL or lowering LDL. Depending on where your levels are, would depend on which option you chose, and it may well be that you do both. Alcohol will alter HDL and LDL levels and will increase triglyceride levels. So I would advise not having a cholesterol check if you've been on the RAS the night or the day before. And make sure you're probably at least a week alcohol free, otherwise you can have adulterated results and you wouldn't have an accurate reading of what was going on. Long-term or sustained alcohol use results in fatty livers, and this is part of the reason why, is because it affects our lipid management. You don't have to be fasted. Non-fasted will show elevated triglycerides and a slightly elevated cholesterol reading, but it's not going to be hugely significant. So you can get away with not being fasted. Just make sure you bear that in mind when you look at triglycerides readings. But it's your HDL and LDL that you're looking at, and it's the relationship between those two compounds that's the most important. That balancing act of cholesterol in and cholesterol out. Okay, hopefully that's been useful.